All right, everybody. Welcome in on this Sunday night to Fox 35 Weather Plus, where we are going to be talking all about Imelda. So, over the next 36 hours or so, really what you're going to be really seeing is the very blustery winds and extremely rough surf, as well as some squally bands of rain. So very quick bands of rain with a lot of wind associated with them is basically what that means. So we're going to go basically through everything. Any questions that you may have, write them in the comments. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. And for about the next half hour or so, we're going to be talking all about Imelda. So definitely get in on the conversation. We'll show some of your comments a little bit later on. But overall, we're going to be breaking down what you can expect locally because, of course, it's the start of the work week. Lots of folks are going to be out on the road for this week and really just expecting hour by hour of what we can see as Imelda passes up the coastline. So this is a pretty close shave. I think this is a great trial run to make sure that you are prepared and ready to go for hurricane season because all in all, hurricane season is still happening. We still have the entire month of October to go, which is a very busy month for sure. And then we have all of November to go as well, which again, that's when we start to see the activity slowly start to calm down, but it's really not until the last 2 weeks of November where we really start to see that activity let up. So great reminder, even though this is a very close shave and this is not a direct hit for us, it is still a great reminder to make sure that you are ready to go if we do find ourselves in another more serious situation. So let's get to the latest. And I see a lot of folks watching in on YouTube. I see a good amount of folks watching in on Facebook as well. So definitely let us know where you're saying hi from. And again, if you have any questions, definitely let us know in the comments. And we're going to be breaking down pretty much everything. So fingers crossed, you shouldn't have any questions by the end of this, but we shall see. Maybe you can stump me a little bit later on tonight. So I'm going to adjust my camera very quickly. And we'll get started. So long story short, again, we're going to be seeing some very gusty winds as well as some very heavy rain at times, but the main threat for us here in Central Florida is going to be the coastal effects. And what we could possibly see, especially along the coast during high tide, is the potential of some flooding. So let's break it down completely across the region. Seeing Jay writing in on YouTube, I just caught this very quickly, but a lot of people writing in where they're watching from this evening is there school tomorrow? There has not been any school cancellations from what I'm aware of, so school should be on tomorrow. It's really just going to be very windy, as well as seeing just a couple bands of rain from the outer bands of Imelda sweeping their way in across Central Florida. Coastals definitely have more of a threat than further inland, but still we're going to be feeling the wind and we're going to be feeling the rain pretty much through a good amount of the day tomorrow. So for the latest, let's actually take a look. Let's start from the very beginning, start with the basics. We are going to be calling for another impact day tomorrow, and conditions slowly going to start to worsen as we head through the overnight tonight. You'll notice a couple more downpours, especially if you live along the coast. Blustery conditions, starting to see those winds pick up as we head through the day tomorrow. But it's really Monday afternoon, Monday evening is when we're going to be seeing the gustiest wind and probably the heavy rain along the coastline. And that's really what's going to stir up the ocean waters as we head through your Monday evening. And rip currents, again, not only are we going to be expecting some very high waves, but during high tide, that could easily cause some coastal flooding. So if you do live along the coast, definitely be careful. Good news is no more tropical storm watches are in effect. That's a big sigh of relief, especially for the Brevard and Volusia County coastlines. That was a story yesterday that we brought you. Today, it is just wind. So today being the wind and kind of rain that we're going to continue to see, wind advisories are going to be in effect for parts of Volusia as well as Brevard and even up to Flagler County because those winds are going to be about 40 miles per hour. So impact day through the rest of the overnight tonight and tomorrow. Just make sure you are staying weather aware. If you don't follow myself on Facebook, Meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, follow the rest of the Fox 35 storm team as well. But this is the best way in order to get your information. We are constantly updating because that's our job. So we've been updating our system up here. I've been updating my Facebook page, the Fox 35 Facebook page as well. So just make sure you definitely give the rest of the Fox 35 Storm team, including myself, a quick follow while you can. All right, so let's talk timing. Really, what we're going to be seeing is conditions slowly starting to worsen as we head through the overnight tonight. Waves are going to start to pick up, as we can already see out there right now, but we're also going to be seeing the wind also pick up as well. Worst of everything, most likely going to be Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday night. Things starting to calm down on Tuesday. So blustery wind Monday and Tuesday, that's the main time that we're going to be seeing the worst of the worst. Rough surf starting tonight, slowly starting to let up on Wednesday. So we're going to be sticking with that rough surf and extremely dangerous rip currents through the next couple of days. So we're going to be keeping an eye on things for quite a while as we continue to see this storm kind of follow up the East Coast. So with that, let's actually take a look at the radar. And I see a couple people actually writing in on our Facebook page as I take a quick look over. A couple people actually saw rain today, and yes, that is some of the moisture that's associated with Imelda. So the central part of Imelda is actually just north of Nassau. And if I can find my little mouse here, this is the center right here. So it's moving north into the Bahamas, and right here, this entire set of moisture from Jacksonville moving into Daytona Beach, or moving off the coast to Tampa, that is all moisture associated with Imelda. So this entire line of moisture is going to be kind of following up the East Coast. So bands of rain expected through the overnight tonight. I see a couple folks actually again writing in that they did see some rain today. And again, that's from Imelda. And if I scroll down enough, these are some of the rainfall totals of today. Southwest or southeast Florida, seeing the majority of it so far. So West Palm, Jupiter up to Port St. Lucie. But it's really only about 2 inches of rain so far. We haven't gotten into the worst of it yet, but we can kind of just see these little bands just going across central Florida, and this is what's going to continue as we head through the next 36 hours, 48 hours or so. So again, if you did see rain, that's associated with this Imelda system that we're watching right here. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty. When are we going to be expecting the worst? What totals are we going to be seeing? And the track. So find your hometown on this map, especially if you're along the coastline. Volusia County, especially Brevard County. Indian River County is not part of our viewing area, but if you do live in Indian River County, this is also for you as well. You can see the orange right there. So the orange is mainly for the ocean, especially in the inlets of Brevard and Volusia County. The ocean is going to be so rough over the next couple of days. That I cannot stress enough. As much as I know surfers are absolutely going to adore these conditions, are going to have these big waves, strong rip currents, it is not safe to get in the water. So putting that point blank right there, our main direct effects from this system, even though we are not having any direct landfall from this system, our threats that we're going to be seeing here in Central Florida are mainly going to be the most dangerous in the water. So dangerous surf, high waves, we'll talk about wave heights in a few minutes, but especially during high tide. We're going to have high waves and high tide at the same time. That could easily cause some coastal flooding. So just make sure, again, you are staying weather aware, especially along the coastline as well. We're going to be expecting another 2 to 4 inches of rain, and then also gusts up to 40-45 miles per hour. That is easily enough to take away a trash can. I don't know about y'all, but my trash day is tomorrow. So I'm quite literally going to be putting out the trash can about when the trash van comes up and the garbage truck comes up, and then quite literally taking it back in, because these winds are going to be pretty gusty. Any very lightweight furniture, couch cushions of outdoor furniture. I have little lights in my backyard. I'm going to take those down because I don't want those to break. But anything very light, kids' toys especially, if those are outside, bring those in. It's the light stuff. Any heavy stuff can stay out there. You don't need to worry about that. But with that, it is enough to take down tree limbs. So that's another kind of point that I'm trying to make here. It's going to be gusty, but we've definitely had worse. So anything light that can easily blow away, trash cans, outdoor furniture, like the light plastic Adirondack chairs, or Couch cushions, bring those in. You don't want those to get blown away. 2 to 4 inches of rain, dangerous surf, again, causing coastal flooding. So we can see right here, that's the orange. That's the tropical storm warning for the bay only. So we are only seeing, especially over the water, very rough conditions, and that's why over the water, it's orange. Taking a look especially across Volusia and Brevard County, these are wind advisories. Wind advisories really is 20 to 30 mile per hour winds with gusts up to 40, and this is going to be in effect until Tuesday night. So from now until Tuesday night, expect very blustery winds. That's pretty much the expecting that we're going to be there. So that's exactly what we're seeing. This is mainly going to be affecting the folks across the coast with the worst. Further inland, though, it's still going to be on the breezy side, but it's not going to be as bad, especially because we don't have the water aspect that could cause that coastal flooding as well. We're all going to be feeling it. Here in Orlando, it's going to be breezy, it's going to be rainy. It's not going to be a total washout of a day. It's going to come in bands, but we're going to be seeing the majority of that threat along the coast just because of how rough the water is going to be. All right, so let's actually get to the current track. 8 p.m. update. This is a position update. Coming up at 11 tonight, that's going to be the new track update. If you please watch at 10, we'll break everything down once again. But just wanted to come on here and talk more about what we can expect. So, really breaking it down by location, because I see a lot of folks from New Smyrna Beach, Daytona Beach on Facebook. Let me check over on YouTube. Seeing people writing in from Kissimmee, Orlando. Definitely write in where you're walking from, or where you're watching from, because we definitely love to see you here. But we're going to try to get as many places as possible watching in from where you guys are watching from on our stream today. So here's the latest track. This storm holding 40 miles per hour, last check, continuing to move northward. Good thing about the track is that it's moving further away from the Florida coastline as per the most recent update. So a little bit more breathing room. That does not mean we're completely clear of the effects. But this time yesterday, we were possibly looking at a Category 1 hurricane off the coast of Daytona Beach within about 100 to 200 miles. Now, we're going to be seeing the storm most likely take this little bit of a right turn. But once we head into very early Tuesday morning is when we could be seeing the storm stall ever so slightly and then make its way off to the east. So with that, here is Tuesday at 2 a.m. And then it gets caught up in the circulation from Umberto. And even though the Carolinas were in the line of fire as of 2 days ago, this just shows how quickly a forecast can change when the factors change as well. So now Florida no longer in the cone, Carolina's no longer in the cone, Georgia no longer in the cone. However, if we play this out further, this is making a beeline for Bermuda. So we're going to be watching this very closely, even though it's not affecting us anymore. By the time we hit about Tuesday, we're going to be watching for possibly a hit towards Bermuda. So things that we're watching there. Most models now are agreeing that the system is going to be making that right turn and making its way out to sea. But again, you can see Bermuda in the little bit of a line of fire right here. And that is all due to Umberto. So if folks were kind of tuning in, this past week, we were talking about something called the Fujiwara effect. And the Fujiwara effect is when we have two low pressure systems right next to each other, exactly like we're seeing here. The stronger one out of the two can change or alter the path of the weaker storm. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. So as Umberto makes its way off to the northwest, it's going to get caught up with Imelda, and Imelda is actually going to almost follow Umberto as we take a look towards about Thursday, Friday. So pretty cool stuff, and especially because the storm might no longer make a landfall, it's even better. So again, we're going to be continuing to monitor this very closely, and again, hopefully this is not going to be making a direct beeline for Bermuda. So that is what we're looking at with the tracks. Now let's actually talk locals, and I see a lot of folks writing in, what can we expect in Kissimmee? What can we expect in Daytona Beach? Let's get to that right now. So again, main threats of what we can see is very gusty wind, coastal impacts, especially during high tide, and possibly about 2 to 4 inches of rain. So let's start off with the model and timing, because this is going to answer a lot of folks' questions. When is it going to be raining? When is it going to, I'm seeing on YouTube, when is the surf going to get rough? Here on Facebook, is tornadoes a possibility? All great questions. We'll answer them right now. Okay, so through the rest of the overnight tonight, I'm going to play this really slow. We're still going to be seeing some of those bands kind of move on shore. Luckily, though, not going to be expecting anything severe. It's just going to be rain and gusty wind. So no threat for tornadoes with this storm. And there is another reason why. We'll get into that in a second. But we can relax about tornadoes. That's not going to be a threat with this instance. But rain and wind absolutely are. So as we do take a look, this is Monday morning. For your morning commute, scattered showers kind of with these bands of rain, very similar to what we've already seen today. And you're going to notice those winds are going to be cool, and they're going to be starting to pick up as we head through your Monday morning. So here is Imelda. Here's the center. This is staying offshore, which is good news. And luckily, we are on the clean side of the storm, which means that our threats are a little less impactful. Whether if we were on the right side of the storm, we would have had much more threats similar to what we saw with Helene and Milton. We'll get back to that. But we're going to be seeing that very heavy rain, possibly right along the coastline, right at around Monday evening during that evening commute. And we're going to be seeing those very gusty winds, especially Tuesday morning. So Tuesday morning right here, we see the system just offshore, the bands of rain coming in, especially across Daytona Beach, Flagler Beach, down towards the Space Coast. Scattered showers, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder thrown in there. But especially Tuesday morning, we're going to be seeing the last of those bands push through as the system kind of stalls off. You'll notice a quick pause, and then it'll start to make its way right. So that's what we're going to be continuing to monitor as we head through Tuesday morning. So Tuesday late morning hours is when this storm will slowly start to push to the east. You can see that eastward motion, and that's what's going to not only slowly start to die down the winds, but it's also going to die down the rain. But we're still going to be seeing gusty winds until probably about late Tuesday morning. Even Tuesday night, we'll slowly start to see that wind finally start to calm down. So that's the timing of everything. Let's actually get to the threats, because I see a lot of people asking about specifics in wind, specifics in wave heights, and also I see how much rain can we expect in New Smyrna Beach on our Facebook page. So again, thanks folks for writing in. I appreciate it this evening. And so here's what we can expect for wave heights. Through the overnight tonight, waves going to start to pick up. And actually, while you're looking at that, I'm going to find our Daytona Beach camera, because our Daytona Beach camera is already showing those waves getting pretty big out there. And listen, I was a competitive swimmer for a while. I would not be getting in this water if in this case, because you can see, even if it's pitch black out here, I can see a rip current kind of starting to form here, and another one right at the top of your screen right here. Tough to see, but if you have a trained eye, you can kind of see it a little bit. But those white caps, especially, we're probably talking about 50 yards out from the shoreline. That is definitely a sign that things are going to be roughened up pretty quick. So we're going to be watching especially the coastal impacts when it comes to high tide, because especially by high tide, on top of the high tide and the high waves, it could lead to some coastal flooding. So if you're directly on the beach, definitely be careful of that. Once we head into about Tuesday, the waves will slowly start to come down, and even Wednesday and Thursday, things are still going to be rough out there. So unfortunately, if you do have any beach plans, stay on the shore. We have talked to lifeguards, we've talked to city officials, and they are all expecting that these waves are going to be rough, and lifeguards are going to be very much on guard, because they are expecting to save a lot of people this weekend. So just do your part. Don't even think about going in the water, point blank. Okay, so that is the coastal impacts. And again, during high tide is when we could expect the possibility of coastal flooding. So let's talk wind. Wind advisories right now are in effect for Volusia and Brevard County, which means there could be gusts up to 40 miles per hour. And that's exactly what our Fox model shows. So taking a look right here, again, we'll play this really slow so you can find your hometown. As Imelda is following up the shoreline, this is Monday morning, possibly seeing about 30 mile per hour gusts along Melbourne, West Palm possibly looking at about 30 mile per hour gusts, Daytona Beach looking at about 20 mile per hour gusts, and here in Orlando, we're going to be seeing 15 to 20 mile per hour gusts as well. A little bit further along, this is Monday evening. We could be seeing up to 40 mile per hour gusts in Melbourne, up to 30, 40 mile per hour gusts across New Smyrna Beach, Daytona Beach area. And then again, this is kind of when that little bit of a stall happens. It kind of sits and spins for a couple of hours, and then it slowly starts to move east. So as soon as this track of moving east starts to kick in, our winds are going to start to die down, and you can see it right here. By Tuesday evening, it'll still be breezy, but not as breezy as what we're going to be seeing Monday night. And then things are pretty much back to normal by the time we hit about Wednesday, Tuesday, late Tuesday night, early Wednesday. So that's what we're looking at for the timing of the wind. Now, rain, we already kind of talked about some folks already seeing some rain earlier on today. And through the next 48 hours or so, with just those heavy bands, very similar to what we see every single day during a thunderstorm. If you get caught in it, it's going to add to your rain totals, and we could locally see 5-6 inches of rain, but majority across the board going to be seeing anywhere between 2 and 4 inches of rain generally, mainly along the coastline, so areas closer to the I-75 corridor, Gainesville, Ocala, Sumter County, even western Lake County. You may see a sprinkle, you may not. Areas across Palm Coast, Daytona Beach, Cocoa Beach, Palm Bay, kind of expect to see rounds of showers throughout the day, so make sure you have that raincoat and umbrella handy and ready to go. Here in Orlando, we could get a couple of showers, and we may just get a sprinkler or two. It's kind of all just depending on when we see those storms kick off. Okay, so that's really what we're expecting. And again, this is mainly a coastal event, but that doesn't mean we're going to be seeing every single county get affected, because yeah, we are going to be seeing the wind region wide as well as rain. Majority though is going to be along the coast, and again, that added threat of seeing those coastal flooding instances during high tide. So that's what we're seeing. And here is a little bit more of a timeout of the wind and the rain. So you can see right here, this is specifically along Daytona Beach. We can see roughly 30, maybe even flirting with 40-mile-per-hour winds as we head to Monday night, which is when we're expecting the worst of the worst conditions. All right, I'm going to take a quick break right here, go through your comments on Facebook and on YouTube. Before that, I'll just pop up our Tracking the Tropics thing that we could be seeing for the next couple of days. So let me start off with our YouTube. Folks writing in from New Smyrna Beach, and a couple people asking, has it gotten crazy in New Smyrna Beach? Not yet, but it will probably start to get crazy as we head through tomorrow afternoon, especially tomorrow evening into Monday night. So that's what we're expecting there. Lots of people writing in from Daytona Beach. Hey, Brian from Daytona, Berlinda from Kissimmee, thanks for joining us. Daniel, thanks for joining us as well. Jay, thank you for that question of, is there school tomorrow? Yes, school is tomorrow, and I am not aware of any cancellations right now. A question from Elizabeth on YouTube. Could Umberto and Imelda merge and make a high cat hurricane descending on Bermuda? That is a great question, and I'm going to pull up a graphic now that we have a hot second. On Facebook, I'm coming to you next. Let me see if I can find it, because of course this is going to be the time that I know what graphic I'm looking for, but I can't. I will be able to find it. Give me 1 second. Oh, and there's another graphic that I do want to show, answering somebody else's question that I saw earlier. Okay. So this is answering Elizabeth's post on, actually, funny enough, Elizabeth post her comment on YouTube. This is called the Fujiwara effect. So the Fujiwara effect is a instance, and we'll show you the models to kind of show it in a second, is an instance where two low pressure systems ultimately act like magnets. So there are usually three outcomes when we start to see the Fujiwara effect in action. And this is for low pressure systems such as cyclones or hurricanes, tropical storms. One of the three options is if we have a big hurricane and a small hurricane, or a big hurricane and a small tropical storm, the bigger one will usually absorb this weaker one. Not necessarily the instance we're going to be seeing right here. Same with this orbiting aspect as well. If we have kind of two equally strength storms, they'll kind of dance around each other if they're within an 850-mile radius, which we do have here. This is what we're really going to be seeing with Umberto and Imelda, a path change. So really what we're going to see is as Umberto makes its way off to the northwest, kind of what we're seeing here, it's going to totally redirect Imelda, just because Imelda is going to get caught up in the extremely strong circulation coming up, and that's when we can see the right turn that we're expecting with Imelda's path. So Elizabeth, hope that answers your question. And one more thing that I do want to pop up is I mentioned earlier, and I saw someone writing in on our Facebook page just as a quick glance. Are we going to be expecting any tornadoes? Not, I can't say 100%, but really the threat for tornado is low. It's not zero, but it's very, very low. And the reason why is because we are on the quote unquote clean side of the storm. So hurricane impacts, we saw this with Helene and Milton last year. So if a storm is traveling in a northerly direction, like we're seeing with Imelda, you can kind of split it up into 4 quadrants, and that's going to ultimately impact of where you can see the worst. We see this really with hurricanes, tropical storms. It can get a little bit different, but you get the same gist. So if you are on the right flank of the storm, front right flank of the storm, this is where we see the max wind gusts and the greatest tornado threat. Front left, we see the significant storm surge and rain. That is why we are going to be seeing the possibility of rain and the very, very rough surf, because we are going to be in this front left quadrant through overnight tonight into the majority of your Monday. And then once we take a look, no, not going to be affecting us, but back right, strong wind, significant rain. And then the back left quadrant is the weakest part of the storm. Still dangerous, but we can definitely see some gusty winds and rain, just not as much as the rest of the 3 quadrants. So we are on the quote unquote clean side of the storm. So this is why we're not going to be seeing that tornado threat, and it's mainly a wind and rain event for the rest of the region. But if you are along the coastline, not only is it a wind and rain event, but it's also a coastal flooding effect as well. All right. So glad we got that out of the way. If anyone has any other questions, let us know. But luckily, even though it's not zero, we could maybe see a very, very brief spin up, but it's going to be very, very unlikely. Main threats are going to be the gusty winds, rain, coastal flooding. Okay, so let's take a look at Facebook. Folks writing in from Palm Bay, Deltona, Melbourne, folks saying hi from Orlando. Will Ocala be affected by this? You may see a couple of scattered showers, gusty winds, but no, Ocala is probably not going to be seeing the worst of the effects. But it will still be breezy. You may see a couple scattered showers just like we saw today. Panama City Beach. Unfortunately, Beverly, I think you are in the clear on this one. Yeah, you should be pretty much in the clear. It's probably actually going to be a nice day on Panama City Beach tomorrow. Nicole writing in from Kissimmee saying that what can we expect there? Really just, again, windy conditions, bands of rain every once in a while, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder. Totally not a washout day by any means, but on the coast you just have that added threat of seeing the potential for the coastal flooding. All right, and I think I'm caught up on everybody on Facebook and on YouTube. Thanks, folks, for writing in. I appreciate it, and hanging out on this Sunday. And again, if you haven't given the rest of the Fox 35 Storm team a follow, definitely do so. One thing I do want to talk about before we wrap up. New track does drop at 11, so definitely tune in for the 10 o'clock show. We'll kind of review a little bit what we've already talked about, but coming up at around 10:50, we should be having the new update, so definitely stay tuned for that. But before you go to bed, I know everyone's probably just chilling on the couch. If not, you're already in bed. If you do have trash cans outside, by at least tomorrow afternoon, make sure those are brought inside. Kids' toys that could be blown away easily by the wind, get those brought inside by tomorrow afternoon. Same with trash cans, any couch cushions that you might have out there, lights that could easily blow away, and any tree limbs that are just lingering in your yard. Try to get those picked up if you can. So that's really what we're seeing. Kind of back to Elizabeth's question. This is the model, and so this is the European model. This is one that we use mainly for our forecasting for when we start seeing those events, like tropical events, start to get a little bit closer. But you can see here is Umberto on the right, and this is Imelda on the left. So you can see this little bit of a joining together between the two storms. That is similar pressure gradient. So what is kind of happening in this case is that two low pressure systems are like magnets. They can't completely come together, but they can stay close, but they are going to almost like travel with each other as we head through the next couple of days. So you can kind of see that attaching happening as Umberto kind of passes off to the northeast of Imelda, and then you can see this little bit of a stalling happening as Imelda gains up that little bit of strength, and then they kind of follow each other because Imelda got caught up in that circulation. They're almost like two tops kind of just dancing around each other, and that's exactly what we're going to be seeing here, and that is the Fujiwara effect in action. So that's what we're really expecting for this storm to happen. But it is crazy. Something that I do want to mention. Meteorology is not an exact science, and that's why I love it so much, because things can change depending on the factors. But this time yesterday, we were seeing this storm just starting to make that right turn. And as of Friday evening, when I was doing the news, it was making a beeline for the Carolinas. Just over the past 48 hours, this track has changed dramatically. And originally there was a cold front over the Carolinas, which is why we were seeing that possible landfall in the Carolinas. But now that that boundary is kind of lifted up, it has changed the entire dynamic of the track of Imelda. So again, just Friday evening, we had this storm making a beeline for the Carolinas. And then slowly but surely, we saw this right turn happening, and this is the current track. So you can see that even as of earlier on this afternoon, we were expecting a Category 1 storm off the coast of Jacksonville, and now we could be seeing a Category 1 storm 400 miles off the coast. So it just goes to show how much can change in just a short amount of time. All right. We're going to wrap up here in just a few minutes. But again, I do want to pop up the possible rain chances kind of following further along the East Coast. Here across Central Florida, maximum 4, maybe a local 5 inches if you do get caught in some of those heavy downpours. Going to be seeing, especially along Carolina coastline, they're not in the line of fire, but they are definitely significantly more out of the woods than they were. Still going to be seeing a good amount of rain there too. And I do want to pop this up because I have had this question a lot in the past. If you do have any photos tomorrow, definitely send them in. Here, I'll bring this even up full for you so you can see. Send us your photos if you can. We would love to see them. Here is that email for you. Send us your photos, fox35stormteam@fox.com. Yeah, send them in. If you see any storm threats, if something is, if you see a rainbow, if you see the very heavy rain coming in, I'm planning on even just taking a drive-by on the beach just to see how bad that surf is going to get. So definitely send us pictures if you can. I will say this though, if you do send us in a photo, keep an eye on your email because we will be sending a consent form. You have to answer a couple of questions before we can use it either on our social medias or on the news. So definitely let us know. And again, keep an eye on your email if you can. All right, so we're going to wrap up here. I'll take another quick skim at the comments, but while I'm doing that, I'm going to pop up your 7-day forecast so you can kind of see what you're going to be in for this week. So tomorrow, again, is an impact day. We are looking at a 50% chance of squally showers, so rain bands that are going to sweep through the area, and that's what's going to have some gusty wind associated with it as well. And that's what we're going to be expecting Monday. Tuesday, we'll really start to see the rain lighten up, but it still will be windy. I can't stress that enough. It is going to definitely be on the windy side through Tuesday at least, and then slowly starting to calm down as we take a look at Thursday and Friday. Thursday and Friday, we're going to actually see another wave of moisture, the remnant moisture from Imelda, sweep through the region, and that's why we're going to be seeing that widespread rain Thursday, Friday, and even into Saturday. So we're just going to be monitoring that band of moisture that's going to be making its way across the region. Luckily, though, it's not going to be thunderstorm related, but we could be seeing just a lot of rain taking a look Thursday and Friday, just widespread. So that is what we're looking at. Facebook, I don't see any new questions there. Checking on YouTube now. I think I pretty much got everyone. If anyone has any last minute questions, definitely get them in the next couple of minutes. But we're going to wrap up here. Don't want to completely spoil everything that we got coming up for the 10, but Stephanie is going to be at the desk. I will be taking you through the forecast once again. And definitely just, again, be mindful of the forecast. Things can change very quickly, so it is best to just make sure you're getting your information and up-to-date information as often as you can. So if you haven't already, follow myself, Meteorologist Laurel Blanchard. Follow Brooks and Jessica have you in the morning. So Brooks Gardner and Jessica Dobson, as well as TJ Springer will have you in the afternoon and evening. So again, just make sure, folks, you're getting good information from your local meteorologist, because again, especially during this time of year, we have a lot of information coming at you fast, and information changes very quickly. And again, just like we saw with this forecast, 48 hours ago, the system was going in a totally different direction. So again, just make sure you're getting good information from your local meteorologist or the National Hurricane Center. That is the best way that you can stay informed and stay safe during the rest of hurricane season. So thank you so much again for hanging out with me on this Sunday night. Tune in at 10, and we will have the brand new track at 11. So the 10:50 weather hit, you should be expecting that brand new track, and we'll go through everything that you need to know to get you started for the start of the work week. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for joining in.